Bam, we're
I
live.
have to.
We'll start the show without you. We're starting the show without the guest today. Look, there's Will.
Stream
Okay,
would
bye,
like to
Will.
access.
Guys,
Hello.
hey. Wow, that was a seamless change. Oh, shoot, Will. Look,
Hold
I
on,
fixed Dust. Let's try that again.
Go backstage.
Oh, look, he's in two places at once.
Yeah, which one do you like better?
Oh, that one. That second one, I think we got a better connection.
Okay,
I just kicked you out.
All right, how's that?
That's awesome. Now I'll fix your Instagram.
Perfect.
This is like the old days.
Yeah.
I know you guys think you're looking at a young man, but man, if you start digging into this dude, this is an old dude. Do you feel young or do you feel old?
Man, I feel pretty young. You know.
How old are you?
35.
Man, because you know stuff.
Yeah, no, I still feel like I'm pretty much really getting in my prime, honestly. I think it's all the mentality you have between your ears on and how well you prepare yourself inside and outside the arena. So, man, life's good.
Dusty, what's the oldest guy in your profession?
Oh, man, I don't know. I know there's been, as of right, that's going right now, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I'd probably say mid 40s, but I've known guys that have went into their 50s before. For me, ideally, I think if I keep the right mentality and keep working hard, I think I've got another good 10 years in me for sure.
In all fairness, I mean, I'm not a huge football fan, but like in football, right? Like you hit 35, and like everyone's wondering if let's say you're a quarterback, everyone's wondering like, is that your last year, right?
Oh yeah. Now
is it like that behind your back? Is everyone like, all right, this has got to be Dusty's last year? All right, oh shit, this has got to be his last year.
Oh, I'm sure there is, just due to the fact of you know how the world works. You know, people are ready for change and something new at times. But yeah, I've had the question before: when are you going to retire? Or you about done? And for some people, age 30 to late 20s to mid 30s, they are done. They've had enough of it. But I truly feel this is the calling for my life that God's given me. And like I said, I'm healthy. Right now, I'm nursing a injury from the Wrangler National Finals, but that's part of it. You just got to take the good with the bad. It's just like with any type of physical career choice you choose. There's going to be good days and rougher days, but you gotta learn to overcome.
There's a sport for those of you who don't know, those of you like me, and it takes place in a stadium, and there's dudes who get on bulls, and I guess they have to stay on them while they ride around. I guess they get on horses too. And then when the guy is holding onto the bull, and then when he falls off the bull or when his ride is done, he has to separate himself from the bull. And there are three guys, sometimes two, I guess sometimes even one, and they're called bullfighters. And what they do is they help escort this guy off this crazy animal to safety. And from doing a little research on Dusty, not only are they trying to keep the guy safe, I guess they're trying to keep the bull safe. I guess they're just good dudes out there. And what Dusty has appeared to have done is he's kind of flipped the script on the sport. I'm trying to think if there's another sport that's happened like this, but he's basically, he's part referee, part judge, part medical staff, I don't know if is there a parallel to what you do in any other sport, Dusty?
Like I said, you kind of touched on a lot of it, but I like to just say, where the insurance factor, more than anything, is we're there to take the blows so that they don't have to, or they can get up and get out of there. So it's a pretty unselfish sport. You're kind of putting your own well-being out there for another human being, but I wouldn't trade for anything in the world.
So Dusty does this, and he's done it to such a high level. And what's interesting is he is not Conor McGregor in his demeanor and his rhetoric, and yet he has brought that type of attention to this. People are now going to these events. What do you call them? Rodeo events?
Yeah. So you got your traditional rodeos that has the horse riding and the time events, and then you got your extreme bulls events, your PBR events that are just strictly bull riding. But definitely in the Western industry.
And so what Dusty does is that's him right there. So you saw him pull the rider away, and then he's getting the bull's attention from what it looks like in order so that guy can get back to safety. And so now people are going to these events to see Dusty work. And if you watch this video from 2013, if you Google his name, Dusty Tuckness, I think it's worth a half hour of your time watching his videos. It will change your whole perspective. It would change your whole perspective on what humans are capable of, what this sport's all about. Dusty, do you know? I know you're also a CrossFitter. Do you know who Colton Mertens is?
Colton Mertens, not off the top of my head. I'm assuming he's something to do in the CrossFit world.
Yeah, he's a pig farmer out of Iowa.
Okay.
5'4", 185 pounds, 6% body fat. Just dying to go to the CrossFit Games again, right? And he takes care of 15,000 pigs on his farm.
Oh, nice.
And I had him on the show 2 days ago, and he told me, I said, hey, what's the craziest stuff that's happened to you in the last month? And he was telling me about pigs just like snouting him and throwing him, like throwing him in the air. And I'm like, oh my God. And by then I had already started researching you, and I've seen you get just chucked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's those animals, their strength and power is 15 times more than we can even imagine, and it's not necessarily the horns or the head, the hookings that necessarily hurt the worst. It's their feet, when you get stepped on. And that's how I accumulated this injury a couple weeks ago is, when they're anywhere from 14 to 2,200 pounds. That's a lot of weight coming down on your body, and something's going to have to give, and more or less it's going to be something on you usually. So
you have a line. I don't know if it still is. I don't know. Do people's favorite scripture change, or do you stick with one your whole life?
Sure, some do, especially different scenarios that strike up in life. But for me, it's been pretty solid for a really long time.
And it's John 15:13.
Yes, sir.
And I had never heard it before till I heard you say it.
Yeah.
And I read it the other day on the show. It says, if I'm quoting it wrong, I apologize. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends.
Yep.
Those dudes aren't your friends, are they?
Yeah, a lot of them are, and some aren't, I guess. But at the end of the day, I've signed up to do a job, and I've got to do it regardless. That's the kind of way I was raised, is to step up to the plate and put your best foot forward. And when you referring back to John 15:13, that's what Jesus has done for us. Some are going to like him, some aren't going to like him, but he still paid the ultimate sacrifice for us. And it just, for me, it hit home at such a young age, fighting bulls and some adversity and stuff that I went through as a kid, and then it just something that just hung to me. And you know what, if he could do that for those who don't love him, why can't I do that for those that may not respect or love me? But the camaraderie in the sport of rodeo is honestly second to none. If I were to line it up with another professional sport, I would probably say CrossFit, because there's the rivalries that everybody wants to see, but after each event, you consistently see those athletes, genuinely happy for each other to be successful or to win an event or make the games for that matter of fact. So that's another reason why CrossFit, I think I really have been drawn to. The community of CrossFit is no different than the community of rodeo.
To put what Dusty done is in perspective, the guy who's the second best in the world has won, I guess you guys call it a championship 5 times. And depending on, I don't know the difference between the leagues, but you've won it 10 times through the Professional Rodeo Cowboy Association and 13 times through the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And those events that you win, can you describe that to me? There's not riders on bulls. That's just you jump in with the bull and dance.
Well, so the 13 times, that's referred back to the Wrangler National Finals, what we just got done a couple weeks ago, and that's to give everybody an insight of what that is. If they don't know it, it'd be like the Super Bowl or rodeo. You know, you got all 7 events, the top 15 cowboys and cowgirls in those events competing for a world championship. So all they did all year long, everybody wants to make it to Las Vegas at the end of the season because that's when they're competing for over 10 million in prize money and they're chasing the gold buckle.
Wow.
The 10-time Prc Bullfighter of the Year, that's an award that's kind of voted on by your peers in the association on, you know, more or less your performance throughout the year. And, you know, obviously your personality, your athletic ability, a lot of stuff plays in the hand on that. And it's just a blessing to be a part of one or the other, and it's overwhelming to be a part of both of them.
Do they? So you get invited to both of these events?
So the 10-time the Bullfighter of the Year, it's an award that's just voted on. So yes,
Okay.
if you make the top 5 nominees list at the end of the year, we do kind of like an awards banquet, just like you would see in like CMAs or any other sporting event where they you know, showcase athletes. And then
So that's like the Heisman. That's like the Heisman.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
You could look at it like that. And then the Wrangler NFR, yes, at the end of the season, the top 20 bull riders in the world, the end of September, vote in a pool of probably, I'd say, 80 to 100 eligible bullfighters. And then they cut down that to the top 5 vote getters. And then the following week, they'll vote the top 3 out of those. And so you're selected and hired by the guys that are actually going to be riding. And so it's a pretty good honor, and it's a prestigious honor that knowing the best guys in the world have picked your name to keep them the safest possible for them to have a chance at a world championship.
Yeah, there's no greater compliment, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's very humbling. You know, it's something you work. It's just, you know, if we're going to refer back to CrossFit a bit today too, is, you know, you work so hard for something, and, you know, the difference between it is it's kind of out of my grasp at the end of the season. It's, you know, it's not that I worked so many performances or I saved so many guys. It's what they saw of me inside that arena and what they think that I'm capable of. So my chances of going to the NFR is in their hands, but that's where I strive for perfection even more because of that factor of, you know what, I'm not going to take any day for granted. I want to work on being consistent and work on pursuing excellence each and every day.
So when you show up to these events, you're just the help. But are people starting to cheer for you? Like when they say, and we have we have Dusty and Cody as the bullfighters today. Does the crowd like start going nuts now when they see you?
A little bit. The sport of bullfighting is really kind of obviously any type of social media publicity that anything really gets, it definitely gets some hype, and there's been a lot more attention drawn to bullfighting and what we do as a team out there. And you mentioned Cody Webster. You know, he's one of my best friends, and we just got to jam together. Like we can, I don't know, there's a chemistry there that's kind of unheard of, but yeah, that, you know, you got fans that, you know, you'd be signing autographs one day or whatever, and they say they get caught watching us more than the bull riding, and that's cool. You know, at the end of the day, we're kind of the unsung heroes. That's kind of an old saying, which I'm not a spotlight guy. You know, yes, I'm thankful for where I'm at and what I've got to do in my life, but at the end of the day, I've got a job to do, and that's my main objective. And you know, I need to go take care of that business and be consistent day in and day out.
It's a trippy sport, both the bullfight. I mean, there's 2 sports going on at once now, I guess. Maybe that's what's unique about it. There's the rider and then there's the bullfighter. But like auto racing, I guess all sports are kind of like this, or not all, a chunk of them. People want to see you get like tossed. People want to see a car crash. I mean, I guess no one wants to see you get hurt, but like, like people want to see like the bull throw you and you do a flip and land on your feet, right?
Yes, some do, and there's the oohs and ahs of the sport. It's kind of like standing on a street corner waiting for a wreck to happen and jumping in. Nobody wants to. Everybody wants to see a wreck, but everybody wants to see you come out of the wreck. If
Right.
that makes sense, and they don't want to miss it. Like I said, if there's a wreck, they don't want to be at the concession stand and miss it, even though they might not want to see it. So
Right.
it's a game of inches, really. It's the sport that's unpredictable. Anything can and could happen, and I think that's what keeps the excitement to an all-time high. And especially when you talk about the the Super Bowl or rodeo at Las Vegas, the atmosphere and the Thomas and Mack with the crowd. I would say it's similar to Madison. At the when they're doing an event at night, and they bring out the rigs and the barbells, and I mean, it's just that there's something about that arena floor at the Thomas and Mack for 10 nights. The competition level is just out of the roof. It's just, if you can't get excited there, your wood's wet.
Did you say your wood's wet?
Yeah.
Are you getting better at it? As I was trying to, I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, sometimes he stays close to the bull. So I'm assuming so that way it can't, like, you actually have your hand on his head and like you guys are like running together. Sometimes you're running away. Sometimes you're putting moves on him. Like, are you getting better? Do you know what to do more now than you did 10 years ago? Is it like light and day? You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I used to go left here. Now I'd go right.
Oh yeah, I think honestly, I think that's anything in life. If you're not consistently learning, consistently trying to get better, then kind of what are you doing there? You're kind of being mediocre. But so yeah, I've learned a lot over the last 5-6 years, even last year. These At the end of the day, the bulls will be the ultimate teacher. They're going to show you what you can and can get away with. But yeah, it's a lot of it's not thinking. Usually, if you're thinking about it, you're usually second late. It's a lot of anticipating where that cow is going to go and then reaction. So you're kind of seeing it unfold before it actually happens. So you're putting yourself in a position. So when that whistle blows or that bull rider does hit the ground, that you're just 1-2 steps away to where you can uh, get that bull's attention and then draw him, back over. And then, you and your partner or the other two guys, depending on how many you're working with, can work as a team in unison to help you strike that bull and get him drawn away from that bull rider, as well as kind of try to help that bull get in and out of the arena as well. So.
Why do they call you a bullfighter? You guys don't hurt the bulls at all, right? I mean, I think I've even heard you say you're there to protect the bull and the rider.
Yeah, no, that's just because they're bulls, and we kind of got to fight to get away from them, I guess, in a sense. Especially in the protection part. We're not all bulls are mean. Some just really enjoy to buck and just leave the arena, but there's that factor in there that they are an unpredictable animal and they can do what they want when they want. So the tradition of the sport, just in a lump sum was, years ago when rodeo kind of started, it was just cowboys keeping cowboys safe. And then it kind of evolved into what they called the rodeo clown, where they would fight bulls or steers at the start of it before the Bramer bull come into the picture and entertain the crowd. Well, as the sport developed even more and the freestyle come into play and just rodeo just become a bigger picture, there's a lot of guys that either started sticking with just the rodeo clown barrelman part, and then some starting sticking with just the bullfighting part. And so there's kind of that discrepancy of what do you do? And I'll say I'm a bullfighter. Well, they always think I'm a bull rider, but then I have to kind of explain what I do. So I'll say, the rodeo clown. Oh, so you're the funny guy? No, I'm not. The rodeo clown barrel man is the funny guy, but it's kind of separated into a sport now to where our main objective is cowboy protection. So I guess that's kind of the word that stuck, bullfighter. We don't ride them, in a sense we do fight them, because not with our fists, but more with our athletic ability.
And tell me the distinction between a rodeo clown and a bullfighter.
So the
Are
difference.
you guys always out there together? Like when I see these videos of you and I see you and the one or two other guys, is there a clown somewhere around?
Yeah, yeah. So the rodeo clown, his main job is entertaining the crowd. If there's a low spot in the event, if a bull's not wanting to load or horse or whatever, to kind of fill in that time to where you're not just sitting there kind of waiting for something to happen. So they're telling jokes, they're getting the crowd involved into it, kind of making everybody feel more part of the show, as well. So then in the bull riding, they'll also have a barrel out there. We call it the clown barrel, but it's a barrel with 2 open ends on it. It's built specifically for the sport. There's padding in the inside. It's either steel barrel or aluminum barrel, to where these guys can pack that barrel in. It's kind of like a little island of safety, whether for us or the bull rider. The bull can hit it around. The crowd enjoys seeing that. The guy comes out and does some comedy. And that's the rodeo clown barrel, man. Our objective is, like I said, strictly cowboy protection. We're not out there telling jokes. We don't have a microphone. We're basically just in the arena during the bull riding. So that's kind of the difference between the two. And there's some guys that do both, but they're mostly guys, do one or the other. And that video that you're putting on there is what we would call freestyle bullfighting, to where you're fighting a Mexican purebred fighting bull for 60 seconds, and then you're judged 1 to 25 on the bullfighter, 1 to 25 on the bull, with 2 judges of possible 100 points across the board. So that's a very exciting part of what we do as well, through the BFO Bullfighters Only events, and where you can also be crowned world champions, and it's just a high intense sport.
When you jump out there, is that because like you heard a timer go off? Okay, you made it, the 60 seconds.
So yeah, there's a lot of time. So there's a mandatory 40-second whistle. So you've got to at least be in the arena and fight your animal for 40 seconds in order to have a qualified time. And then between the 40-second and the 60-second mark, it's kind of you're judging your finish in a sense. So I guess relating it into CrossFit, Frazier I thought was always good at it, about his pacing and his timing, and how strong of a finish he wanted. Is he going to kind of burn it out, or is he going to be like, okay, I've still got 4 days left, I'm going to take a breath here and then I'm going to roll. So that last 20 seconds, we want to sell it on a high note. And what I mean by high note is whether you jump a bull or jump him off the barrel or something like that, you want to basically leave the fight that you're in control. And so that fight right there that you showed, that was the bull named Spitfire, was a really, I could say, feared bull for a long time. There was only one other guy that I knew that really got along with him all right. But that was the first time I drew him, and up until that point, his track record was pretty dominant. He wiped out a lot of bullfighters, but those are the kind of bulls that I always crave to draw, because those are the moments that kind of separate you from the rest of the field, and it's kind of either a ride or die type thing, and you kind of see what you're made of. So that was a pretty sentimental night, really, for me. I ended up going 94.5 points, setting the world record in the BFO, and it was just, I couldn't have scripted it any better. Just a blessed night, and I got to draw one of the bulls that I've wanted to in a long time, just to go toe to toe with them, and thankfully we stayed on our feet and won that battle.
And that was the highest score ever in recorded history for that event?
Yeah, in the Bullfighters Only world, yeah, that was still hold the world record there. So that's pretty cool. If they beat it, I'll be happy for them. But until then, I'll just keep watching.
What if you get drilled out there?
Well,
where's the guys to help you? Are there other bullfighters waiting to jump in?
Yeah, so on the freestyle side of things, yes, there is. So a lot of formats are set up in pins of 3. So say there's a 15-man bullfight, so there's going to be 5 pins of 3. So there'd be me competing against 2 other guys in that round, and the high score out of that round would advance to the short round. So you'll have at least those 2 other guys on the fence, kind of spotting you, if not 1 or 2 other guys.
So the guys you're competing against are also protecting you.
Oh yeah. And that just goes back to the
Shit.
camaraderie part of the sport. If you get down, you could easily have guys on the fence that say, no, I want him down because I want to try to win.
Right.
But that's never the case. Those guys, are second to none. They're going to jump off and get that animal off me or me off them, just so they can go ahead and finish a solid bullfight. So that's what I like about the sport of rodeo and sport of the Western lifestyle is just everybody's pulling for everybody. You know, we all want to be successful, but you know, at the end of the day, there can only be one winner. But we always like to try to pull for each other.
Hey, I see a movie here, like a Days of Thunder type movie. Like
Mm-hmm.
two guys who are friends, and one of the guys accuses the other guy of not jumping off the fence to help him, and got to have a couple girls in the mix. And
Yeah,
I see it.
yeah, exactly.
Your dad did this.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, did that scare you? And you had your first injury at 5, right? It's funny. I had Sage Bergner on here the other day, and I'm like, how long have you been lifting weights? And she's like 25 years. And I'm like, how old are you? And she's like 30, you know, and her dad's Mike Bergner. So obviously, you know, she's been lifting weights since she's 4 or 5, and you have the same story going.
Yeah, so I grew up into the rodeo world. My dad fought bulls, and my mom was involved in rodeo as well. And my parents were divorced at a young age, but you know, kind of a long story short on some of that is there was just something that about the bullfight that I was always drawn to, and you know, I started going with dad a lot in the summers and experiencing that. Then I ended up moving in with dad the start of my freshman year in high school, and my first big injury was when I was 15, and I can honestly say up until that point, is I started fighting bulls when I was about 12, which is way younger than probably 99% of the guys who fight bulls. There's only a couple other guys that I know that have started that around that age, but it really opened my eyes what the sport can and could do to me, and it really put me in shock. You know, the first time in my life I remember what experiencing what fear is and nerves, and trying to overcome that hurdle was tough for me, and it was through my faith in God and being able to go to a rodeo Bible camp where that really just transitioned my whole life, mentally and physically, and started understanding a purpose and a way of life, and which allowed me to overcome those hurdles that were kind of bestowed upon me at a young age, and just kind of took and run from that. You know, it's you know, everybody's going to face adversity in their life, but it's believing that through those trials and tribulations that there's something better on the other side if you're just not willing to give up.
I want to get to that Bible camp. I want to go back to there's so many holes to fill in here. There's a story about you were 4 or 5 years old. You were injured. You broke your arm, and the doctor had to reset your arm.
Oh yeah. That was so that was I was a little older than that. I can't remember. It's been a good minute ago now, but I was still living with mom, and I was actually steer riding at the time.
And what
And
is that? Like it's on a horse that's not mean? I mean, a cow
no,
that's not mean?
well, it's yeah, it's basically a cut bull, but that's what starting out in junior ranks is. Instead of just getting on a bull when you're a kid, you're getting on, you know, sheep, and then you can get on calves, and then you can get on steers. So you kind of work your way up the totem pole. But yeah, I was steer riding at our hometown rodeo, and I ended up breaking my arm. And
So at 5 years old, you were already on a horse, but it just had its balls trimmed. That's supposed to be like some sort of like
no,
make you feel
well,
better.
it was more like a steer is a cut bull. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So yeah, it would be he can't breed anymore, I guess you can say. So
But it could still toss you around.
oh yeah, I mean, you know, they're like I said, they're, you know, go out there and jump kick across the pin, but just how I come off and landed, I broke my right arm, both arms of my right arm, and mom can tell you the story better than I can since it's been so long ago. But I guess when they had to move my arm around and set it back in or whatever they had to do, that I said something along the lines of, you know, Cowboys got to be tough, you know, and I was kind of raised, you know, that way. I had, you know, between my mom and my dad and my stepdad and that, we were all raised to be tough, you know, raised to have self-discipline, and raised to work hard for what you want to achieve in life. And I've never been much of a guy to really be waited on. And so, yeah, that was, I guess, one of my first big injuries in the rodeo world was when I broke my arm as a kid.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I got two older brothers, one 4 years older and then one 9 years older.
Do they mess around with this stuff?
My middle brother Jesse, he did for a while. He rode a little bit for a little bit through his younger years, but they both kind of grew out of it. They both enjoy the sport of rodeo, but they've kind of chose different paths in life. And like I said, this is just something that I can honestly say I feel that God has put my life from the beginning, just through when I moved over to Dad's and you know, got hurt and was trying to get over that adversity of that wreck. And it was through the Rodeo Bible Camp where I ended up coming over that. But yeah, that's where I found my faith in God and really changed my life and my mindset, and seeing the purpose that was been there from the start. So just truly, God's truly moved and opened doors in my life for the betterment of 20 something years in the rodeo world. And it's just, yeah, I mean, I could sit here all day and talk about the, how good it is, even in the tough days. But the family that I've accumulated in the rodeo world, you know, I spent a lot of time on the road. I spent the better part of 10 and a half, 11 months on the road. I'll get a week here and there at the house, but so I don't get to see my mom and my brothers and that a lot. But you accumulate what you call a rodeo family, and you see them countless times throughout the year. And there's a lot of guys like that I truly consider, you know, the only thing that's keeping us from being 100% family is blood. But then my mom and brothers, we got to know them a lot. So it's just the whole family's grown, you know, across the board. So it's just a pretty phenomenal lifestyle, really.
Are you married?
No, sir.
Do you have a girlfriend?
Not as of right now. No, sir.
Is that something that you pursue?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, it's highs and lows, and I guess my mentality on it's a little different than a lot of people. There's people across the board that just date to date, or you know, aren't very faithful. And that's something that I've always prided myself on pretty big. Is, you know, not that everybody that I've dated, I'm trying to tell myself that's who I'm going to marry, but I've always had intentions of being right and being with the person for a long time. And like I said, we've been in and out of some throughout the years, but there's going to be one that'll put up with me for the time being. We just haven't found her yet.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought of that. Yeah, I guess I never thought of that. I never thought to date to marriage, but I guess a lot of people do. I've had a lot of friends who are great guys, and they'll start dating a girl and they'll play the story out in their head like, "Oh, I can't see myself with this girl forever." So they'll either break up or they sabotage the relationship. But I guess I always just dated for pleasure, you know, like,
Yeah.
I guess like eating. Like, girls are pretty, they smell good, they're fun to hold, like,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
see
like
that for sure.
yeah, just but now but your job's crazy. I just, it's 10 to 12 I mean, and you're in your 30s. That's when you grind it. I spent 10 to 11 months on the road in my 30s. But at some point, I guess yeah. Do you have a lot of girls courting you? Are you a popular, are you a good catch?
I don't know. I I think I'm a pretty good guy. And yeah, I mean, you get the random messages or calls or uh, ones that come up to you or whatever. But like I said, at the end of the day, I've never been big into that part of it all. Like I said, I've lived that life in college and that. Not that I'm happy about it by no means, but I've changed my ways and changed my life, and there's just bigger picture of life for me, inside and outside the arena. And at the end of the day, you know, there's a way to go about things, and there's a way not to go about things. So I'm just trying to do what I feel is right.
When I had, do you know who Sarah Sigmund's daughter is? She's a CrossFitter from Iceland.
Yeah.
I had her on the show a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "So what's up? Do you want a boyfriend?" She goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Are you going to get one?" She goes, "Well, I just don't have any. There's not a guy out there." And I'm paraphrasing. I apologize, Sarah, if I'm not getting it right. But basically, there's not a guy out there who can handle the lack of attention I would give him, because basically she's focused on her gig, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm guessing, like, I mean, you do a I mean, I don't want to be melodramatic, but you're in kind of a life or death, maybe even worse profession. It could be worse than dying for you. Like, something could happen that makes it so, you know, uh, um, Is that the way it is for you too? At 35 on the road, 10 or 11 months, like it's just, it's going to be such a special fit because your focus is so elsewhere.
Yeah, no. I 100% understand what she's talking about, and it takes somebody that experiences life in a sense like that of being that busy and being that focused to understand it a little bit. The few that aren't necessarily tied into life like that do understand it. I mean, they're like your unicorns. They're pretty special. And some of my best friends have found some like that. But the thing for me is, yes, we are busy. Yes, I'm very self-driven and very focused, and I've learned through the years, and God's really revealed through different relationships and stuff for me is not that any of those relationships were a waste, because I don't think they were, but He revealed certain things through them or through me where I can get better, or where I need that peace in my life. And so yes, I understand what she says for sure, but there's also been a balance for me where, like I was talking to a buddy last night about working out and the dedication that you have to consistently train and work out to a high elite level, is very mentally, and you got to have some mental toughness to withstand it. And I said, there's guys that I've heard that said, man, well, I drove 15 hours uh, today. I didn't have time to work out. Well, my first question to them is, what did you do with the other 9 then? Well, I slept. Okay, well, why didn't you sleep for 8 hours and work out 1 hour? And that's the mentality that I've had. So going back on the relationship side of things, I feel where God has showed me where I can get better, and I've gotten a lot better, is finding that balance too. Is okay, I've got 24 hours a day to chase my goals and my dreams, but I've also got to find time for that other significant other in my life to where I can support their goals and their dreams as well. I got to show enough care, whether it's physically or whether it's verbally, um, that I'm there for them as well, even though I'm that dedicated and focused on my part. So if I'm getting 7 hours of sleep, I may only get six or 5.5 now, because I'm going to dedicate, that other time of making a point to being there for them, or watching them, or supporting them any way possible. So there's got to be a little give and take. I don't want to be a selfish person and just be so centered about myself and my goals, because yes, that would take a very, very, very special person for that person to just sit there and basically be your cheerleader and hug you when you can, and or whatever. So there's a balance there, I think, that I've really started to see, and I've grown in areas. So it makes it for more work, but I think at the end of the day, when it's the right one, it's so worth it.
Yeah. Do you call your parents every day?
Not every day. I talk to my mom a lot. I talk to dad a little bit. He's still doing a bit of rodeoing and traveling as well. But I stay in touch with my mom quite a bit. My brother's a little bit. Both of them work long, tireless hours. So I kind of wait in a sense sometimes for them to call me. But yeah, definitely try to stay in contact with my family. And nowadays, with all the different social media and all the rodeos on TV and events on TV or live streaming, they get to watch a lot of it. So they're in the know before I even get a call them after the performance. So that's kind of nice about it too, to where they can stay up to date with everything, and know that I'm not trying to hide anything from them or anything.
I think you're going to transcend the sport. I don't know if anyone's ever done that in rodeo. I can't think of anyone.
Yeah,
I
no, I
think
mean,
I think you're going to transcend the sport, and it's going to be so great for everyone around you. I mean, it's good. The whole sport's going to benefit from it. It's just, well, once again, it's weird that it's weird that it's a bullfighter. I mean, not anymore. I mean, if you would have asked 10 years ago, it would have been weird. It's a bullfighter. I guess it's not weird now. I mean, all anyone has to do is watch your footage and see what you're doing. It's all. I mean, you really have. I mean, I've been watching it kind of obsessively for like 4 days, but I don't even watch the riders. I
yeah,
mean, so weird. I mean, maybe that's because I was going to have you on the show, but man, what you guys are doing is nuts.
yeah. I think the art behind it is really starting to get exposed a little bit more for the good. and it is humbling. It's neat to see that, you know, people appreciate us outside the bull riders, and that there's a fan base, and people really, you know, applaud for us. And like I said, I've never been a guy to, you know, be the guy that needs to pat it on the back or be in the spotlight. That's just, I don't know, that's just something that God never put in me. But definitely want to use a platform that He's given me, to shine my light and, you know, be the best version of me that I possibly can be. And at the end of the day, I want to be an influencer. You know, I
Yeah.
want to show every kid out there that, you know, the only person that's going to keep you from doing something is yourself. And through my testimony in my childhood, it's not that I never got anything given to me. You know, I had a lot of hard things to climb over as a kid, and you know, I was broke, and you know, basically left home on a small dollar, and you know, slowly worked my way, and just had a never say never kind of attitude, and just strive for perfection, and you know, each and every day work hard. And you know, I remember when I was a kid and thinking about working the Wrangler National Finals, you know, I just thought it was just kind of another world and another portal. And just looking back now, I'm like, holy cow, man, I've literally lived every little childhood dream that I could think of. And now it's in my position where how can I give back, and how can I show other kids that can, you know, change the trajectory of their life into a more positive way, or allow them to see that they can chase their dreams. Just know that their dreams sometimes are faster than they are, you know, but uh, that shouldn't make you shy away from the sword. And that's where I've really drawn to the sport of CrossFit too, is the work capacity, and the self-discipline, and the willingness to get better. You know, when you're talking about Ben and Fraser and Froning and Cole and Noah, these guys just, I mean, they live it every day, and I just like, man, it just inspires me to be so much better. You know, just really digging into Froning and Fraser. You know, their work ethic is just out of this world. You know, the people don't realize how good you have to be just to make the CrossFit Games.
Oh, it's the hardest
You
thing
know,
ever. I wouldn't suggest
and
anyone do it.
you could be the worst athlete at the CrossFit Games, and you're still one of the fittest person in the world. You know, it's
Yeah.
crazy to fathom that. And there's, you know, in my line of work, like they label me as kind of a gym junkie or a CrossFit junkie, and or whatever. But obviously, it's what I've seen and to benefit me in my profession more than anything. And I do love it. I've got a passion for it. But you know, I've done the Open a couple times, and everybody's like, "Oh man, did you make the games?" I'm like, guys, yes, I'm in shape, and I feel like I'm a really good athlete. I said, but for one, I'm not training for that sport specifically for some of the weight and the RX weight that is needed for those events. I said, but for two, like, there's some of these guys I can't even hold a candlestick to. Now, will I try? Oh, absolutely. You know, I've got that hard-headedness about me to where I'll black out, like Matt Fraser would say. You know, if somebody's blacking out today, you know, that'd be me laying on the floor. But these guys literally train for the sport of fitness for years. It's not like they just jumped in a gym and made the CrossFit Games. Like, there's athletes that have trained for years and years and years and never made it through regionals. And
Right.
it just goes to show what kind of people they are. And that's where I'm inspired by them to just wake up and work hard daily.
Are you friends with Rich?
No, I've never met Rich. You know,
I can't believe that you guys will hit it off so quickly. You guys,
yeah, no,
it's
I'd
almost
love
like
to meet
talking to the same
Rich.
person.
Yeah, I'd love to meet Rich. I think he's a phenomenal guy. And just, you know, the man that he is outside of the competition ring, I think, is what I love more about him, is, you know, just his faith and his belief and how he lives life. But the competitor that he is as well is just, golly, that guy's just, I mean, he's, you know, some people say he's a freak or whatever, but no, I just think, man, he's just used every ability that God's given him into the fullest. And he's a good guy. You know, I follow him quite a bit, but like I say, I've never met him. Never met a lot of those athletes, really. I've been in contact with Cole Sager a little bit through some friends, and then out of the blue, Castro and I guess, kind of become social media buddies. And
You sent him a hat.
yeah, Yeah,
And he rocks that
yeah,
hat at the ranch. He'll be like, he's bragged to me. He's like, yeah, Dusty Tuckness gave this to me. I'm like, all right, settle down there, buddy.
yeah, yeah. I need to get him a new one sent. He's probably worn that one out, but yeah. So
Yeah,
it's,
he wore. I think he actually did. He wore it like every day for a year. He was so proud of that hat.
yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Did you reach out to him?
No, actually, it was just after 19.5, and I believe it was a workout right up my alley. It was I think it was 40 bar muscle ups, uh, 80 calorie row, and like 120 wall balls or something for time. And like that's my jam right there, because like I said, it's not necessarily overly heavy weight. It's a lot of body weight, and it's just grind, like hit the ground, go. And I put up a pretty decent time, and I got an email or a message from Dave Castro, and I was like, nah, this is spam. And so I opened it, read it, and I'm like, golly, this is pretty detailed. He's like, hey, I don't know who to this day still said something to him about me, but about being a good bullfighter and whatnot, this and that. And he's like, hey, great time on 19.5. So I kind of clicked on his profile, and I'm like, son of a gun, this is him. And just, hey, appreciate it, thanks. Love the sport of fitness. Keep rocking or whatever. Long story short, we just kind of become buddies and keep in touch. And I've been trying to get him to come out some rodeos when he's not busy. And I told him that I'd come out to the ranch, and he could make me be a test dummy. And then
Awesome.
I was actually going to go to, since the COVID year of the games, they had limited staff, so they didn't really need any help. But last year, him and J-Mac emailed me like, hey, we got some stuff for you. Got a spot for you if you want it. And I was like, what's the dates? And it was over one of my biggest rodeos in the summer. And I was like, dang it, I can't make it. But man, if there's every year I can make it, I'm heading to Madison. So hopefully
He's a
it'll work
huge
out one
fan
day.
of yours. He sent me your account, and he's like, dude, this guy, you have to see, go research this guy. You have to see his shit. And I started looking, I'm like, holy cow,
Yeah.
it's nuts.
Yeah, I'm a fan of him too. I'm just like, he calls it how it is. He's
Yep.
not really trying to sugarcoat it, and I
Yep.
like guys like that.
Yep. He's a guy who comes from life and death situations, right? There's
Yeah.
Everything's matter of fact. Going back to when you only have 9 hours in a day, or 8 hours or 7 hours or 5 hours, do you have a go-to workout that's like, oh shit, I need to be asleep in 30 minutes. What should I do? And you're in your hotel room.
It just depends. It really depends on where I'm at, what performance is that night. But yes, on them long overnight drives, if I get to the room, I'll do some type of body weight circuit. Whether it's a chipper format or some type of triplet, or I might just get on a treadmill or bike and go for 20 or 30 minutes. Just enough to get loosened up, get the blood pumping, maybe do some intervals. It really just kind of
So you
depends.
go to the hotel gym. You won't just in your room do 100 burpees or air
I
squats and
might, yeah,
handstand push-ups, or
No, I may. Like I said, it just depends on how I feel. Like if I feel like, man, I want to get out and run, I may run. But if I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do 150 burpees for time, and 8 minutes, 9 minutes into that, then you're like, okay, now I can shower, go to bed, or it really depends. There's not necessarily a go-to workout for me. If I were to say any kind of go-tos, movements that I would do a lot would be, burpees, push-ups, sit-ups, and double unders would be kind of my, you can kind of do them anywhere with anything. And even if you don't have a jump rope, you can modify your double unders in a way to make it more like a double under. So those would be my go-to movements. I've learned to not love burpees over the years, but I've learned that I can actually do them, and I do a lot of them in a pretty good fashion.
do you roll with the jump rope everywhere you go?
Yeah. So basically, the few things that I take is I'll take some leg bands and a jump rope, and then I might throw my hand grips in, because pretty much everywhere I go, there's very few places that I go that don't actually have a box at them anymore. But most of the places that I go, whether I'm there for a month or 4 or 5 days, I'll just go to their box. And if I'm tied into a programming, I'll just keep doing that. Or if I'm just, hey, what are you guys doing? I'm here for a week. You know, I may just jump into their programming for a week. And there's the only things that I really scale from is anything like overhead, you know, like overhead squats or just straight arm overhead stuff. Just for one, my shoulder is I had surgery on it a few years back, and the mobility in it is not as quite as good as my right. And I haven't really tried working for it, but I haven't needed to train for that. So I try to stick away from some of that stuff from aggravating my shoulder, and
Smart.
just focus more on sport specific stuff for me. Because right now I'm not trying to train for the games or the Masters or whatever it be. Whether that comes down the line somewhere down in my path will be a different story. But right now I want to just train more for sport. And yes, there's heavier lift days and there's heavier days where it's not so sport specific, but definitely really try to tie in, you know, 2 to 3 days a week of more sport specific stuff. But when you're looking at functional movements, there's so many days that tie into, you know, just your everyday movements, but movements that I do in that arena. So that's why I like the CrossFit world so much.
And I heard you tell a story about gassing out once in the ring, and once you gas out once in the ring, you never want to let that happen again. And I watch a lot of UFC and a lot of boxing, and it made me think of that. I can't think of anything more terrifying than gassing out while you're in a ring with a bull. That sounds like an
Yeah.
absolute fucking nightmare.
Yeah, like so that taking that back, gosh, that would have been in 2006. One of my first big freestyle bullfights. I got invited to down in Oklahoma. It was a 2-day event. My first time there, and got through the second night, good shape. Was 80. I think I was 89.5 points. Won my round the next night. I drew into kind of, they call it the E pin, which E is for eliminator. And I drew a bull they call Why Me. Just a big red and white bull, big horns, like pretty intimidating. His track record is usually he wins and the bullfighter loses. There's been very few guys that ever get around him. And I remember drawing him, and I was excited. You know, there's some nerves, but I was pretty excited. And I called for this bull, and like, long story short of it, I just remember just running and just, you know, cutting left, cutting right. Like, you know, he never got me hooked down or anything, but I remember I was making it around him, and my legs gave out right in front of him. And just thankfully that he let me live, more or less. Like, he just went on by me, didn't hook me, run me over, anything. And I finished the match and everything. And I just remember walking out of the arena that night as never again will that happen. I never again want that to happen. That's on me, and I should never let that happen. And I think that's where it really started clicking for me.
You were 20 then. That was a 20-year-old Dusty.
Yeah, it was it was a little younger than that. I think I was
Okay.
18 or 19, but yeah. And part of that was, you know, adrenaline, and that obviously, you know, getting really hyped up and kind of making my legs loose. But it just hit me at a young age that, you know, that's on me, and that there's no reason for that. And I just, from that point on, I didn't know what a lot of fitness was. And even I'll back up a little bit before that. Just before that was, you know, I went from high school to college, and, you know, I was in high school about 165, 170, and my first year, you know, I put on the old freshman 15 or whatever. I jumped to 198, and I was like, what am I doing with my life? And so,
How tall are you?
about 5'10", 5'11".
Okay.
And it wasn't muscle by no means either. You know, if you got a muscle frame at 190, you're doing fine at 5'10". But I didn't know. I was like, man, I can't do this. So I didn't know anything about nutrition or really about fitness. So I remember I'd get on the treadmill for an hour, hour and a half, and just run. And then I basically eat nothing but crackers and drink Gatorade. And over the years, started to develop, learning more about fitness, learning more about nutrition. And then that happened in the arena in Ada, Oklahoma. I told myself that's never going to happen again. That's on me. And then slowly started talking to other guys that fought bulls for a long time, what they do, what was their training regimen, and then slowly started looking at the more fitness side of things and nutrition. And so I did a lot of different things, anything from insanities to P90Xs to just going to the gym and I remember maybe it was in 2010 ish. I had a buddy, I remember him say something about CrossFit and that it was an intense workout, but he loved it. But I was sore, and I was like, you know, it kind of intrigued me. And then a few years go by, and you know, I'd hear a little bit about it, and then I would say that I kind of partook in some CrossFit workouts, no classes or anything, and then it would have been the year of, oh shoot, I can't even remember now, but I went to my first one just a couple times just to experience it, and then
Like an affiliate. When you say first one, you mean an affiliate?
yeah,
Okay.
affiliated gym, and then probably it's been 3 years ago now, probably, or going on 4. But the start of the year, I started seeing, obviously, get more into CrossFit, watching it, watching compete, and then the start of the year, we was in Odessa, Texas, and I just started seeing a lot of gyms pop up everywhere. And so I looked up a CrossFit gym in Odessa, and I was like, man, there's no reason for me to be intimidated. Like, I like to work hard. I'm going to go see what I'm made of. And then just instantly, I just realized what the CrossFit community was about. And from that rodeo, I started going, you know, as soon as I got to the next rodeo, I'd look up another affiliate and then another affiliate. And now everywhere I go, you know, I've been there for going on 4 years. So I've accumulated, you know, friendships of that community. And, you know, they're kind of become, some of them become more fans of rodeo, and then it was 2 years into it when I was like, you know what, I want to dive into learning the sport of fitness a little better, and I want to become a level 1 trainer. And so then I went to a course down in Texas and got my level 1 coaching, and I haven't really got to go and run any classes at a whole lot of gyms. I'll help out here and there just with my crazy schedule, but I just, like I said, the functional training and just how our body's designed to move anyways, I think it's what it's all about, and I really enjoy it.
Who are your seminar staff? Do you remember?
Jeremy was one guy. He's down in I think he's down in New Braunfels, Texas now, and then I can't remember the other, Zach maybe, and I can't remember the
Zach,
girl.
was it Zach Pine? Shaved head?
No, he
Okay.
wasn't shaved head. No, but Jeremy and Zach, and I can't remember.
Zach Forrest was a little guy, old games athlete,
Maybe.
Former Navy SEAL. Yeah, okay.
Could be. Yeah, short, stocky.
Yeah, good squat, incredible air squat, like one you never forget.
Yeah,
like,
it could be him for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. And you liked it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I loved it. And I was training for actually the NFR that year during that time, so I was in pretty good shape at the point. And so, like, granted, you know, you go through your 9 foundational movements and really try to find the flaws and correct them and everything. And then each day, you know, you kind of do a little workout, but it was just good. It was fun, and really enjoyed the course. And like I said, then once I got my test back and seeing that I passed, it was even pretty a lot.
Yeah.
Just knowing, and not so much for coaching so many athletes, but even for me, understanding the sport, understanding nutrition, understanding, you know, functionality of the body and everything. So, like I said, I really enjoy the fitness side of things, and it's definitely going to be something that I'll be a part of even when I'm done with my bullfighting career.
In my last, you know, from, I don't know when it was, maybe let's say 2016 to 2000, I don't know, 18, 19, when I was running the media department over at CrossFit Inc. Greg Glassman at that point had fully embraced the fact that the level 1 was the operating manual for the human being. Like, that was it. Like, this is what to eat and this is how to move. I didn't invent any of this. This was part and parcel with your DNA. This was invented by God. I just put words to it, and here it is. And man, like, I cannot emphasize, and you know, I used to talk about this on my show all the time. I've given it a little bit of a break in the last couple of months, but if you're a human being and you haven't taken the L1, you're really I think you're fucking up. And especially if you're a parent. I mean, it's like, so it's the, you know, I don't want to compare it to the 10 commandments, but like it is what an incredible 2 days to make yourself a better person. And then the culture that those people share, you think, oh, I can do it online or I can just learn about it. But there's something those seminar staffs share in the culture of cheering other people on. It's like what you said about the bull rider sitting on the fence. They want to beat you, but they're also going to be the first one to jump down and help you if something goes awry.
Oh,
and they share that with you there.
and
It's a trip.
That is, it's too, I almost wish it was like 3 or 4 days, like I
Yeah.
said, I got to know Jeremy. I still keep in touch with Jeremy a bit. And if I was closer to him, I'd go to his gym. But yeah, the camaraderie of it, just there's so many different backgrounds of athletes, or not even so much athletes, just kind of your normal, 9 to 5 work person that just enjoys, getting up and
Yep.
moving. But there's a lot of truth, I think, to that. In the level one is, it is a good manual to just living. And it's not like it's, you see a lot of diet plans, you see a lot of different workout programs now, and it seems like you need a scientific formula to figure it out, or it's
right.
this, and this, where it's pretty cut and dry. Like you said, your proteins, your vegetables, nuts, seeds, fruits, some starch,
Yep.
no sugars. Like, it's not hard to say, okay, no sugars, little starch, some fruits and seeds, proteins and veggies, and then functional movements, 9 foundational movements. Like, here is how the body moves. How many times do you squat a day? Everybody sits up and down in a chair. How many times do you lift something over your head? How many times do you
pick something off the ground?
You pick something off the ground. It's just like, these are just common moves that we do every day. And the other thing that I really enjoy about the CrossFit world, which in fitness in general, yes, you see people of all ages, but just what I've seen it do to so many elderly people, from barely being able to step up onto a bumper plate to actually jumping up onto a 45-pound bumper plate, even though it's only 3 inches. But that's a big accomplishment at an old age, and just the understanding of the functionality of your body. The old saying is, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Yeah, in a sense, you do. You lose your muscle, you use your bone mass and strength, and it's good to be aware of that stuff. Being able to be mobile and be moving and full range of motions too. None of your half rep stuff. That's one thing that I used to think that I could do 1,000 push-ups until I started actually doing them right. So
right. For those of you tuning in late, Dusty is the most decorated bullfighter in the history of the sport. More importantly, the world, I think, outside of bullfighting has begun to embrace him, and he's kind of changed he has changed the spectacle of bullfighting. Maybe it's just he's in the right time and the right place. Maybe it's God's work, but from what the little bit 3 days of obsessing on bullfighting that I've been watching, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact of how he moves, how he carries himself, and the person he is. When you moved in with your dad your freshman year, was that hard? Did your parents give you a decision? Why did you move out of your mom's house?
Man, so
my parents divorced too, and that was always kind of they divorced when I was 3, and there was always the thought maybe I should move in with my dad. I never did, but it was always kind of a weird thing that tugged at me.
Yeah, so for me, the biggest deciding factor, I'd say, because I love both my parents for sure, but was just when I'd go with Dad in the summer to Rodeo, and then I'd come back home for 9 months, to go to school. And I was big into sports as well, so that was part of my life as well. But I just loved Rodeo. I really enjoyed what it was, and talking about it, or believing this is where God's called me to be is 100%, because it was a decision I made myself, and it was something I had to more or less ask my mom. So one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make in my life turned out to be the best decision, because when I made that phone call that was so hard for me to make, and asking Mom if I could move in with my dad, and just coming from and trying to understand from a mother's love and her side of things, it was, even though it wasn't what I was meaning, but, as a mother's love, it's like, man, my son doesn't want to be with me anymore. And, but it allowed me to go to that Rodeo Bible camp, especially after that injury that I sustained. And it not only changed my bullfighting, but on the bigger picture, it changed my life when I gave my life to God. And it opened up things in my mind that I never thought were possible, what I'm capable of doing. And then obviously through high school and through college, I'm not going to lie, I lived the college life to a certain extent those years. But then those hardships in college, God put the right people in my life, and some of the best friends that are still my best friends today. And as I started rodeo and started pursuing uh, rodeo as a full-time career, I really just seen God opening doors in my life. But it wasn't. I tell people a lot when I'm telling my full testimony, is one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life turned into the best thing, because years later, the stepdad that helped raise me and my brothers for the majority of our life, and mom, they ended up getting a divorce too. And we never saw it coming. There's no rhyme or reason to it, and it affected and hurt us all.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have the words for mom, other than I just kept telling her that I'm praying and trusting God's plan through it all, and that He's got a plan through it. And I remember giving her a book that year, just after they divorced, that like I said, Mom, I don't know why I'm doing this or what. I just felt led to give you this. And, days after that, I remember her calling me and telling me that, man, son, I'm reading my life in this book.
What was the book?
It was Jesus Calling by Sarah Young.
That's the title of it, Jesus Calling?
Yeah. It's basically a daily devotional. And through that, my mom received Jesus into her life, and changed some things in her life. And then they've got a
So
Bible
before then,
study.
your mom wasn't a church-going woman? She wasn't
She was a believer for sure, but there's a difference between a believer and a doer. It's just like, in rodeo or in CrossFit, you could like it, but it's a whole different game once you actually start living it. And so, yeah, she changed her ways in her life, and her and her friends, they've all changed, and they've been doing Bible studies, and, they've got their kind of their regimen that they're going about now. So as I look back on my life over the 15, 16 years, God had a plan through it all that I never even got to see at the start of it. But I just realized that phone call, being one of the hardest things I had to do in my life, turned into being one of the best things. Not only did I change my life, but it changed my mom's life as well, and trickled down into my family. So if anybody's listening, there's always a bigger picture than what we can see. Then, we don't need to get so narrow-minded and focus on some of the things that seem big but don't make them any bigger than they are, and just truly trust in the process, maximize your time, and see it through, because on the other side of the rapids, there's clear water.
But where did your dad live and where did your mom live? What states? Did they live in the same state?
So my mom lives in Idaho, still lives in Idaho, and that's where I was born and raised. And then my dad, he lives in Wyoming, by Cody, Wyoming, in the northwest corner.
So you're at your dad's house, you're 15 years old, and you're like, shit, I want to stay with my dad because I want to pursue this rodeo thing. And basically you call her and it just turns into a cry fest, I'm guessing. You're crying, she's crying.
No, it wasn't
No?
like that really. It was kind of something throughout the summer. I kind of started hinting to Dad, like, hey, maybe I can live with you. And honestly, I kind of thought, being a young kid, my dad would call and, make it all work out, and I wouldn't even have to talk. But, Dad, he made me make the call, and
Yeah, good
no,
dad.
like I said, we got off the phone, and mom said that, that we're going to talk it over and think about it for a bit. And they called back, and she said that she was going to respect my decision, and she's okay with it. And like I said, it wasn't no big sobby crazy sob session or nothing like that, but it was just it was tough for me. It was because
Hell yeah.
it was, you love your mom, you got a relationship there, but there was just something there that, I guess, in a sense, if I look back on it, I feel that maybe I was pretty obedient, not just for the passion I had for rodeo, but just seeing where God's led me through it all, and into my family, and so on and so forth. So it's crazy just looking back on it, that dang, I actually did that, and this is what's come from it. So,
Do you know this term equanimity? Equanimity?
no.
It means the quality of being calm and even-tempered composure, evenness of mind or temper, calmness or firmness, especially under conditions adapted to excite great emotion, a state of resistance to elation, depression, anger, etc. Like just like, you
Dang.
know,
Yeah.
it's like it's you out there with the bulls.
Yeah, that's a good description. Yeah, it
It
is.
it's something you had to deal with at 15. You had to figure out how to find that. You know.
Hmm.
How come you didn't find Jesus the first time you went to Bible camp, and how does someone and what can you tell me what happened the second time that made it different,
Well,
or
actually,
what?
that was my first time to the camp.
Uh, I thought I heard that you went once before just because you wanted to go bull riding, and then
No,
the
so
second. Okay,
it was the same. It was the same school. So basically, the biggest reason why I was led more or less to go. I mean, obviously, God had a plan through it, but it was a rodeo Bible camp, and it was after my wreck that I got into when I was 15, and I was like, you know what, this camp close to home. I definitely want to go there and try to get my bullfighting right, get it back figured out, get over this fear that I have. And it was through those 3 days that I realized that I was going to something more than just a rodeo camp. It was a spirit led, driven Bible camp that just allowed me to fight bulls. So it was all in the one same camp. But my intentions of going in was just to get better in bullfighting. But when I left there, I realized it was a bigger picture that and why I was there.
was it a flash when you say you realized it was like a 1 second like, oh shit,
No,
aha.
no, it wasn't. It was, at the Bible camp, with 3 days. I mean, obviously, you're up in the mornings. They do a little church service, not much, more like a little Bible study, and then you have breakfast, and then you go to the arena, and then you go to your designated area of whether you're trying to learn how to ride bulls or ride horses or whatever it is, and then you break and you come back for lunch, and then you kind of have another little, somebody speak or share a little word. And that first day and a half, it was kind of like, oh, okay, cool, that's neat. But what I was just so focused on fighting bulls, and obviously nerves and everything's kind of high, because I'm still trying to overcome this fear factor. And the impactful night, there's one of my pastors that I still consider one of my best friends, Tim Stewart. He brought the heat. I can say he preached that night, and it was just something that you can't even explain. It's a feeling that just overcome that whole camp, that whole tent that we were in, and I just my heart was touched by God, and just confessed and asked and received Him into my life, and it was just instantly like I just started seeing changes in my life. One of the biggest changes that I realized in my life is, and a lot of my friends in that don't believe any of these stories, is that they've known me to be just a pretty decent human being. But I used to cuss like a sailor, and I had a bad mouth on me, and it was like a transition overnight that just snapped out of me. And the only explanation I can have for that is a change from God, because it takes time to develop in or out of things, unless it's just supernatural like that. And that was just one thing that kind of left me that quick. And then there's just so many different things that I've seen him move in my life, and my mom's life, and my other family and friends' life. And there's just a bigger picture to life than a lot of people think.
And did it cause you to, so that one you're saying kind of came naturally. I was going to ask you what kind of things did you change, like maybe you stole a pack of gum every time you went into this one store and you stopped doing that. Maybe you stopped saying the F word, but you're saying the swearing thing just came naturally. Like you weren't even like, okay, like I need to watch my mouth.
No, like you said, it was crazy. It's been so long now, I can't really remember my thought process on it, but I just remember like a week into it, or maybe 10 days or something like that. And I was just like, wait a minute, something's different. And, and it just kind of dawned on me like, holy cow, like that was just really taken away from me. Um, and it wasn't nothing that I like woke up the next day and was like, okay, I'm going to start working on this. Out now, brown count. Out now, brown. It was just something. What's missing that used to be there, and it took me a few days to realize that. And then the mental side of it, which life is just mental. got a big mental game to it anyways, and it's just how you can diagnose and process it is different. And the word tells us that we were made to be more than conquerors, and that he's got a, in Jeremiah 29:11, he says that he's got a plan for hope and a future for us, to prosper us, not let us fail. So once you start understanding the purpose and that you a purpose driven life, you can really control your mental thinking, because the fear factor is not of God, it's of the devil. And when you can control that, and like right now, I'm battling an injury from the finals, and I'm not gonna lie, there's gonna be tough days. I've already had days that I'm just ready for the next day, but through this, I know God's going to do something through it, whether it's for my benefit or somebody else's. But it's up to me to be able to walk through this adversity and see what's on the other side. Because there's been so many times that God's already prevailed through the negativity in my life, and I've seen the good on the other side, that I'm almost getting excited in my life now when things don't go quite right or something goes bad, because I know God's got something in store for me on the other side. So this is just a minor bump. And I think even in your healing process in your body, it's so mental. If you got a negative mindset when you're battling injuries or battling whatever it is, it's going to be a lot harder to get over it or a lot harder to heal. But I think if you can have a positive and a sharp mind through it all and continue to work hard every day, I'm in the process of starting to get back in the gym for my upper body, and I'm so excited about it. It's just been such a big part of my life is fitness. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited for the movement that I'm getting back in my foot, the bending that I'm getting in my knee, just little victories, just the domino effect, I guess is what I call it. Is I can't wait till I'm back and both feet in the ground in the arena and fight bulls and going to the next rodeo, 24/7. But right now I'm excited about my little victories, about being able to lift my leg up and put it on a chair without supporting it, to being able to straighten my leg out and stuff like that. So you got to stair step your goals and look at the little victories in each and every day, because that's going to keep you motivated.
Is that camp that you went to still around?
Yeah. It's
what's it called?
It's gosh dang, Becoming Champions Rodeo Camp in Meeteetse, Wyoming.
Becoming Champions. Speaking of God's plan, how is it that how is it that the dude's hand gets stuck in the rope when he's on the bull? That shit looks horrible. Speaking of swearing, the guy's on the bull, he's off the bull, but his hand's still on the back, and I see you like reaching up there, like fiddling around as the bull's going crazy. Are you trying to release the dude's hand? Can you explain that whole thing to me? That part of the sport seems the most insane, when the guy's his hand is strapped to the top.
Yeah, so that's called a hang up. So basically they roll over their hand, and it kind of pushes up against the block of the rope. And if I had a rope, I could show you what the block is. But basically, it's a hard piece of leather that's stopping their hand, and when they roll over it, it kind of just keeps their hand shut. So sometimes you're in and out. It's pretty quick, but you're kind of anticipating and reading the situation at hand.
You ever ride one of those bikes with clip-ons where your feet clip in?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it like that? And you come to a stoplight and you forget to take your feet out and you fall over? I mean, when I see that happen, I'm like, how does that happen in rodeo? Is that the worst thing that can happen to you?
Yeah, no, like I said, there's sometimes that, yes, it's very, very hairy situation. But there's other times that it's pretty quick and easy. I'd say some of the worst situations is when they get bucked off and their spur of their boot kind of runs through the tail of their rope. And then they're getting dragged around. They're usually underneath them, and then that's when it's tough, because that rope's still tied onto the bull, but now they're underneath the animal, bellied up usually. Those situations are the tough ones, because that's when you're more exposed, and that's when those feet have a better chance of stepping on. Yeah, that'd be the block of the rope right there. So, but sometimes, like I said, hang-ups sometimes are pretty gnarly and pretty wild, and then other times, you're in and out, and you don't even really notice them at times. It just all depends on the situation and what that bull allows you to do and what he allows you not to do.
And I see you up there like fooling around, like trying. Am I seeing that correctly? Like you have your hand up there and you're trying to like get the guy's hand free as the bull's bucking around.
Yeah, so that's our main. Yeah, so what we do is, so you see the loose part of the tail, the rope, which we call the tail. You want to pull against the side that the guy's off. So if he's off on the right side, you want to be on the opposite side of the bull rider. For one, you're not tripping over him, but for two, you can pull against the direction of that bull rider, and that should free and pop his hand loose. Is the objective there? A lot of times you'll see us sometimes get underneath his arm with one of our arms to help secure and lock us in there, and then we go to pulling that tail. And once that hand's released, he pops off. We step out, kind of staying low so you don't you kind of stay clear of them feet, and then you're still at work. That bull may turn back and want to hook somebody, or he may just buck on and be gone. But you just gotta, once your feet hit the ground, you're just being ready to react in whatever situation.
You can't push those bulls, right? Sorry, I know that's probably a stupid question.
Them, but,
like
but they ain't gonna get you anywhere because, like I said, they're big critters.
Yeah, so you can't like charge them or bump them or push them. There's none of that.
No, not really. Like I said, the biggest thing for animals is they're colorblind, so they go off react or movement a lot, and so the looser clothing. That you see us putting our hands on the bull, getting that bull head up, so they go to touch and feel too. So a lot of times you see us put our hands on. Thanks, Bug.
Yeah, on their face. I see you do that a lot. Guide them with your hands on his head.
Yeah. So like when you put that pressure on their head, they feel that, so they're initially going to come up with their head, and so when they come up with their head, now their eyes are up. They're more focused on you, to where they're going to more or less have a better chance of going with where you want to take them instead of going after that bull rider. So a lot of times when you see us putting our hands on them, it's getting their head up, getting their eyes on us.
There's in that 2013 promo video, there's a white bull charging right at you, and you're charging right at it, and at the last minute you jump over him.
Yeah.
How do you do that for the first time? Like when and I'm assuming you can't force that. I'm assuming you want to do that for the crowd, but you can't force that. You just kind of have to hope it happens. I mean, it seems nuts.
Yeah, so a lot of times when you see us jumping a bull is going back to one of them freestyle competitions. That's another way to impress your judges, gain points, and showcase your athleticism as well. So, and there's other times, obviously, I've jumped bulls for no rhyme or reason or no benefit of it other than just doing it to do it and, thrilling the crowd. So, yeah, it's.
Do you remember the first time you did it? Do you remember the first time you jumped over one?
Yeah, I remember the very first time I jumped on it was in Cody, Wyoming, and it was the bull was a white bull, brand number was 111, and I just remember he was a mean bull, and that was I just had it on my mind. I was jumping him that night and took off, and after he bucked the guy off and he wheeled around that arena, I took off after him, and when he saw me and ran at me, I just jumped, and everything went really good the first time. Not all the time it works, but when it works, it's good for both me and the fans.
Yeah, I've seen you jump them, and then while you're in midair, they kind of like hit you with their ass, and you fly another couple feet even higher. It looks crazy.
Oh yeah. There's been times when they clip your feet, or you don't get your legs up, enough, or you don't jump far enough, and yeah, there's times it works and times it doesn't. But that's all part about risking it for sure.
Your junior year, you won the high jump and the triple jump in high school.
Yeah.
And did you train hard for that? How did you become such a great jumper?
Yeah.
Can you dunk? Can you dunk?
Yeah, I could. And going back to my freshman year, I remember I didn't have much of a vertical. I could more or less barely touch the net, and I hated it, man. I wanted to jump. I wanted to dunk. I wanted to have a big vertical. And back then, I don't know if you remember them, but they were called the jump shoes.
I do remember those.
Yeah, so I got online and I ordered a pair, and I got on the jump shoe program for whatever it was, 8 weeks, 12-week program or whatever it was, and I did it. And lo and behold, through the program, it put about 10, 11 inches on my vertical, and from that point I could jump, and I could dunk, and you know, I went out for track a couple of years, but I wasn't big on the running. I was more big on the jumping events. So I did long triple and high, and high jump was my favorite. The highest height I jumped was 6'2", and in high school, you know, I was 5'9", so I thought that was a pretty good feat for me.
You do that with like the Fosbury flop? Is that high jump? Like you go on your back?
Yeah, the old back, yeah. So, but yeah, that was my, I guess, favorite event. And then obviously long and triple, you know, I enjoyed as well. But I loved to jump at a young age, and it kind of rolled into some benefits of in my bullfighting career as well.
And then you did a backflip over that bull.
Yeah. You know, I always give my buddy Andy Burrell credit for it. In 2004, I was at another camp and was watching video, and I saw him do it. I believe he was probably one of the first guys to ever do it in American freestyle bullfighting. And I just remember sitting there watching it that day, and I was like, man, if he can do it, I think I can do it. And that was just the mentality I had on it. And I tried it over Little Bull a few years after that just to see what I could do. And then from there, I started doing it a little bit more and did a little bit more. And it, you know, all kind of worked out for me for the best. There was only a couple that didn't work out too good, but it's a risky move. It's pretty ballsy. I'll just say that, but it was cool to do it a couple times in my career for sure.
God, I like the way you said if he could do it, you think you could do it. All kidding aside, that's how I ended up with kids. My wife was like, "Oh, if that couple can do it, we can do it." And now I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
You use the term contractors. So there's an interview you're having, and you're basically talking about what the contractors want you to do with the bulls. Can you explain that to me? Are all those bulls out there owned by different people? What's
Yeah,
going on out there?
Yeah, so the contractor is a guy who owns the livestock that's produced
Okay.
at the rodeo. So all the horses, the bulls, so there's certain contractors that like certain things. You know, certain contractors like you to kind of maybe turn their bulls back or fight their bull a little bit, or you know, certain contractors, you know, could care less to have a bullfighter in the arena for the most part, but you just kind of got to learn.
What
To
do you
know
mean?
your
Why wouldn't they want you in there? Like they don't want you even interacting with their bull at all? They think it makes the bull less mean or something?
No, it just, you know, different personalities. You know, a lot of times, you know, they think, you know, we try to showcase and fight the bull too much, or they don't want to cripple their animal and that. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm a professional at what I do. This is what I've done for a living and professionally since 2006. So I've got a pretty good grasp on what I can and what I can't do, and how to help the bull out as well too. So, um, but yeah, there's, you know, certain contractors too. This, you know, you just kind of got to know your guys, know your groups in a sense. So which, like I said, the fundamentals and the foundation of each and every situation are pretty much the same. But like I said, you knowing the guys, sometimes they do want you to not only save the guy, but go ahead and go run out there and make a couple rounds with the bull before he leaves the arena. Just kind of the entertainment factor for the crowd, and depending on the rodeo as well, it just depends on where you're at. So you just gotta know where you're at and what you're doing, and you know, be ready to do whatever.
Why is the bull doing that, bucking around, and why do they stop? Do they gas out? But why do they even start in the first place? They just don't want a dude on their back?
No, well, yeah, in a sense, but they're bred. They're bred for this. You know, they're born to buck program, both the horses and bulls. So it's no different than, like going back to the Mexican fighting bull. You know, the Spaniard blood of the fighting bulls. You know, those bulls are naturally mean. You know, that was just how what they're bred for, is to fight. And you know, the bucking bull is no different. You know, these animal athletes, you know, they're some of the most gentle giants out there. Some of them are, you know, you can go in the pen and scratch them and, you know, lay on them, and you know, they get taken care of, you know, just as good as, if not better than anybody. You know, they've got some of the best feed in the world, you know, best housing in the world. You know, some of these animals are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, so if you got something invested, you know, over 100,000 in, you're not just gonna throw it to the
Yeah.
wind. You're going to take care of it. And so these contractors, you know, these are their pride and joy. You know, they eat and they get warm and they get taken care of before they ever go back in the house and cook their own breakfast. So that's one thing that a lot of people don't know in the sport of how well these animal athletes are treated.
How do the guys all ride the same bull? Like how do they choose the winner? Is it just luck of the draw? You may get like the hardest bull that's there, and the guy who wins
Yeah,
might get the easiest bull that's there, or am I just splicing hairs? Is that just crybaby talk?
no, so it's a random draw. So I mean, yeah, sometimes you draw the better bull, sometimes you draw the weaker bull, you know, or the weaker horse. So that's part of the game, you know, that's part of the atmosphere of rodeo is, you know, you would definitely want to go and pay your fees and you want to pay to play to win. But sometimes you know it's out of your reach. But you know when in the judging event, you know as long as you there mark you higher than your animal, then you did all you could do. Now if you're getting marked lower than your animal, then you know that's on you a little bit from how
What
you
does that
rode.
mean? Marked lower than your animal. What do you mean?
So going back to the judging system, you know there's two judges, 1 to 25 for the rider, 1 to 25 for the animal on how well they perform.
Oh,
So you know if your bull's marked at 22 and you're marked at 20, well you know you left some points on the table. So you can't really be mad at anybody other than yourself. Now if they mark the bull in 18 and mark you at 22 and a half, then you absolutely did everything you possibly could. You know, so sometimes it's the luck of the draw. You know, you hear that saying a lot, and but you got to capitalize when you do get the right ones too, and you got to be consistent at you know getting qualified rides and scores as well.
so as a judge, the bull goes. They open that pen. The bull comes running out there, and the bull does a performance, and then the guy on his back does a performance, and I judge both. I give points to both of them on a 1 to 25 scale
Yeah,
each
yeah.
time.
So one
Oh
judge,
shit!
yeah, judging 1 to 25 on the bull and 1 to 25 on the rider, and the same with the other judge. So possible of 50 points per rider and animal with a total of 100 points. So yeah, it's a
Has
judgment.
anyone ever given a 50?
Yeah, there's been guys that have been given 50s, you know, whether it's the bull or whether it's the rider. So there's one of the most historic rides ever in the PBR this last year at the PBR World Finals. Jose Vito Leme was, I believe he was 98 3/4, which is phenomenal. It was just a historic ride. It's pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah, I ended up on that guy on that guy's Instagram. Did you and you saw that ride live?
Yeah, yeah.
A- And could you tell right away as you watch it as an expert? Or are you like, wow, this is
Well,
nuts?
yeah, when you place the bull like Jose or the bull like Wu Paul and Jose Vito, like Jose, he's man, that guy is. I mean, he works hard. He's earned everything that he's achieved. Like he's kind of a league of his own, really. I mean, that guy is so mentally and physically sound. It's amazing and awesome to watch, and animals like that as well as athletes like that perform.
So they open the pen and the guy's trying to stay on there for how long? 8 seconds.
8 seconds.
And then when he hears a sound, he knows he made the 8 seconds, and then he dismounts. Or does he ever just ride it until the bull gets tired? Or that's not
No,
possible.
no, no. You kind of, you know, over time, you kind of get a mental clock in your mind, but you know, obviously, you'll hear the buzzer ring, and then you know you find yourself a good place to dismount, and you try to get out there in good shape, and then, but no, yeah, you don't. Guys just don't stay on until they can't stay on anymore.
And then I noticed then after a while the bull kind of chills out. Is that because he gassed out? And then I'm always surprised at how they run back into the pen. I'm like, if I was that bull, I would just stay out there and just like fuck shit up.
Yeah, no, like I said, you know, they're bred for it. You know, this is what they do, and you know, a lot of times that you know when that bull rider's off their back, they know that you know work's done, and
Yeah.
sometimes they'll take a little victory lap, and then, but a lot of times they like going back to the back pin, you know, because that's where their feed and water is, and that's where they can chill and relax, and you know, kind of lay up for the remainder part of the day. So, you know, they're cool. They're cool animals. You know, they all got their own personalities, but they're neat animals.
Why didn't you become a bull rider and why did you become a bullfighter? Like, doesn't it seem like the rider would have been the way to go?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who you ask. You know, I think the biggest thing for me was you know, seeing what Dad did at a young age, fighting bulls, and I rode bulls a little bit, but it just never intrigued me as much as being out in front of them and being that kind of line of defense for another person, and the unselfishness that it kind of proclaims is just, I don't know, it's just something, like I said, going back to where God's called me to be all along. I truly feel, and you know, I look back and I shoot this. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Can we look at your ride where you got injured? Do you care? Does that bother you?
Which one from this last year? Or a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, the one that just happened like a couple
Oh
weeks
yeah,
ago.
no, it don't matter. It bothered me.
Okay. And we, because I watched it a bunch of times and I can't figure out what happened. Could you tell us what happened?
Yeah, so basically, when Brady.
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to bring it up here on the screen. Will, I got it. Thanks, dude. By the way, you've been killing it. Okay, I think this is it, right?
Yeah, sure is.
And this guy's riding injured already. He has broken ribs, right?
Yeah, Braden, he's already got some broken ribs, so you know he's not gonna, you know, once he hits the ground, he's gonna be pretty slow moving. And this is really just the deal where he landed, and I just tried getting in position between him and the bull. And when I did, you know, I've talked about the game of inches. When that bull come around, went to swipe at me and hook me, you know, his leg came down on my leg, and just his weight overpowered my leg and just broke my leg. And you know, that was something that you don't like to be a part of or see, but you know, it goes back to, you know, you got to take the good days with the bad days with this job, and that was just one of the bad days.
So that's you right there, getting on the left side with the black hat on.
Yeah.
And I don't see the bull ever touch you. To me, what it looks like is that guy was on your leg. The rider was on your leg.
No, that bull's front left foot stepped right on the side of my leg.
And did you know right away it was broken?
Yeah, no, I felt it and heard it. And when I looked down and my leg was kind of flopped over there, I knew I just needed to just inch back a couple steps and wait for the sports medicine team to come out and give me a hand.
And the rider knows too. He comes over and checks on you, Braden.
Yeah, at this point, Braden, he sees it. John Harrison, who's in the barrel, he sees it, and then obviously the other two bullfighters realize it. But you know, their biggest job right then is make sure to get that bull out of the arena. And then once that bull was clear out of the arena, then they, you know, obviously come over and checked on me. And not a lot anybody can do at that situation other than just, you know, keep the faith, keep believing and praying. And then you know, the Justice Sports Medicine program, which is a sports medicine team that travels around the majority of our big rodeos, you know, our Dr. Tane Freeman's on hand. They come out and assisted me out of the arena, and you know, we got it fixed up now, and we're going on day 17, 18, and it's starting to feel pretty dang good. So we're just a little more, a few more weeks, no weight bearing stuff, and then we can start getting back into some weight bearing stuff and get more active and get back to the arena before too long.
So are you there's a still frame here. Are you doing everything perfect here? I mean, he hasn't even hit the ground completely and you're already getting in between him and the bull.
Yeah, that's our objective right there. Is you know, there's three guys working there, so it's the 3-man rotation. There's kind of a triangle form. You know, you got one guy on the bottom, Nathan Harp, one guy kind of just to my left, which is Cody Webster, and then myself is wedged in between the bull and the bull rider. And ideally, you know, that's perfect setup in my opinion. Of you got one guy between the gap, you got two other guys on both other angles, waiting to work and drag that bull back away from me and Braden, and keep everybody sound. And ultimately, it worked out good. You know, Braden did get touched, and like I said, my leg and the bull's leg just it was kind of a, you know, just freak deal is how they landed, or how it got on my leg, and the angle of my leg, and how that bull really reached up and tried hooking and pawing at me. Just as one of them days. It was just not the best day, but you know, you got to take those days with the good days as well.
Where you guys are basically your chest is basically on his head and his back, on his neck, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Just when it gave in that, it just, I mean, I just obviously just collapsed to the ground, and once I looked down and seen my leg was flopping, I knew I didn't need to stand up at all and cause any more damage. So I just inched out of there and kind of sat there and waited for help to come.
And Braden must have heard it break too, because you can see he looks back here.
Yeah. No, it was pretty loud. There's a lot of people that heard it. It sounded like a shotgun, but
Whew, 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 whew. And so you'll just heal right up and just get right back in.
yeah, yeah. So I went to surgery the next morning. They put a rod and some screws in my leg, and they had me in a soft cast for a couple weeks. And then the 24th, Christmas Eve, I went and seen Dr. Tanny Freeman, and he went and took the staples out and put me in a walking boot right now, which I'm not supposed to walk in it, but I can put up to 10 pounds of weight on it, more or less, basically let my foot be on the ground. I can start doing upper body stuff, core to upper body workouts. So basically I'll focus a lot on just mobility and stability. I'm not going to really try to get into anything too crazy. I can slowly start riding a bike with no tension on it. So there's been some many goals and many victories for sure, especially in this short time. And yeah, we're just again let that bone heal, and then each and every day we're really trying to work on getting the range of motion back in my ankle and my knee, because there's still some swelling in both the knee joint and the ankle joint. So it's kind of a patient process now, allowing that bone to heal. But once it definitely starts healing and hardening up, we can definitely start progressing in our rehab, and like I said, get back to fight shape and get back to being in that arena. So it'll be good, and it'll be sooner than later. So we're looking forward to the challenge.
Is this the lady running out? Is that the doctor?
Who's that?
Do you see this lady running out? Is that the doctor running out? Watch, there's a lady runs out with a white. I think it's a lady with the white cow. That lady running at you with the cowboy hat and a mask.
Oh yeah, no, that's one of the Justin Sports Medicine team members. So I'm not sure who that is. I mean, it might be one of the guys or one of the girls. I'm not sure who it is. I can't tell. But yeah, they basically stand ringside, just like with any other professional sport. Waiting to assist an athlete, and once the ring is clear from harm, they can go ahead and come in and start working, and that's what they did. They've been so awesome, so many rodeo athletes, and giving back and helping us get back into the arena in the best shape possible. So we're 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks into this recovery, and the comeback's going to be good.
When do you get to go back? Do they give you a date?
Not really yet. Like I said, we're still pretty early in the game. I've heard a lot of anything from 3 months to 6 months. So I truly feel it's going to be on the shorter side of that. I feel that I've come quite a ways already. Talking to my trainers and doctors and that, everything looks really good. So it all depends on just how it heals, and I'm believing in a good, speedy healing through it all, and we're just going to keep working on it each and every day, getting that range of motion back, getting that strength back, and you'll see us back in the arena before long for sure.
What's it mean when you say pounding the arena? That term.
Pounding the arena, get back into the arena, I guess, is more or less.
It's not a derogatory term. I thought I heard you use it in a derogatory way. I thought you said, well, it's not like I was just out there pounding the arena. No, I heard it in one of your interviews, and I go, I wonder what that means.
I don't know. I
okay.
guess.
You did something that which I found interesting, that a lot of great people do. As a young boy, you snuck away to fight bulls illegally. Right?
I don't know if I'd say illegally, but yeah, I would sneak away when I was young and go to what they call practice pens, where they buck out bulls and guys get on and practice. And I started doing that at a young age, in a sense, where before my mom and dad really knew what I was doing, and after the fact, when they found out what I was doing, just thankful that they didn't shut it down on me. They supported it in a certain way, I guess you could say, but dang sure had to work my way through it all, and kind of earn their trust and respect through it, I guess you could say. But yeah, no, that was kind of what I did, sneaking away and started fighting bulls that way.
It's interesting at such a young age you already knew what you were going to do. I mean, it's so well, it made me think of Bill Gates. I remember hearing a story about Bill Gates sneaking into a place where there was a computer. There was only, when he was a kid, there was very few computers, but he knew where there was a computer on campus somewhere at some college in Washington, and he would sneak away to use it even though he wasn't supposed to. And I was just imagining you as this young kid. And that's why it seems like you're still so young, 35, but yet you're a senior member. You're a veteran. You've already broken the glass ceiling. Every day that you're alive, you break the glass ceiling in your sport. It's nuts. It may have not even been considered a sport when you got into it, right? And now it is a sport.
I think it was, but
It was
obviously,
okay.
yeah, it's really showcased more of what kind of athletes are actually out there that perform in rodeo, because it takes a lot of time and dedication. It doesn't matter what side of the ring you're on, and that, so that trickles down to the athleticism that it takes to do it. And so yes, the showcasing of athletes definitely grown over the last 5-10 years for sure, but it's always been considered a sport.
There was an interview you did where a guy asks you, "Hey Dusty, have you been watching the Olympics?" And you said, "No, not so much. I've really been focused on the CrossFit Games." And I was like, that was crazy, because I mean, that just made me realize what a CrossFitter you are, because I mean, that's like everyone in the community, right? They're kind of like, the Olympics, what? Like, why? Like, if the games are on, why would I watch the Olympics?
Yeah,
And that really resonated with me.
I like to watch the Olympics, but I can't sit and watch all the events, because origami. I mean, there nothing against some of the events, but there's certain events I do like, But I don't know, just the CrossFit Games it just overrules for me. Just going back to just some of the people that I've got to really follow over the years, and kind of become fans of. It's just drawn me more to that. Now, if the Olympics and the CrossFit Games weren't going on at the same time, I'd probably maybe watch a little more Olympics. But
right,
we're gonna pick or choose one or the other. Is probably the CrossFit Games.
Oh, dude, the CrossFit Games are phenomenal. Have you been?
I haven't been yet. Like I said, that's always been over some of my rodeos. The only time that I could actually went and helped would have been the COVID year when they went to the ranch, but they didn't. They had limited staff and everything, so I didn't go out there. And one of these days when it actually does not cross, I'm entered for sure. I'm going out.
It's mind-boggling. The stuff you see these athletes do, it's like looking at the Grand Canyon. It really is mind-boggling. It's like you kind of can't get your head wrapped around it. You're like, really? They're doing this?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's something I definitely want to watch, and I've got another good friend that follows it pretty good. That definitely we're gonna make it work one of these days. Hopefully, it doesn't fall on one of our rodeos where we can do it, but just wait and see.
Thanks for your time, man. Hour and 48 minutes. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. No, I appreciate you having me, and shoot, I hope all's good. Have a good day.
Yeah, it was great. It was great meeting you. I'm glad Dave Castro turned me on to you, and I'll be in touch, and I'll be rooting for you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.